Hey everybody, welcome back to TechOdyssey. So today I'm here to talk about everybody's favorite new Sony phone, the Xperia 1 Mark IV, and the battery life. How is it? Is it any good? Is it improved? Is it better than the Xperia 1 Mark III? Is it good enough to use as a daily driver and power you through the day? And I think so. I've been using it now. It's been over a week, but I've been testing out the battery almost on a daily basis to see how good it actually is, because they gave us a little extra juice underneath the hood with a 5,000 milliamp battery, and so a little bit extra goes a long way. This phone has a lot of stuff going on. It's got all the crazy cameras on the back. Those definitely take up battery when you use them, especially shooting high-powered 4K video. But using the phone on a day-to-day basis, Snapdragon 8 Generation 1, 12 gigabytes of RAM. It's got the 4K 6.5-inch screen on here that's beautiful. It's gorgeous. It's got 1,000 nits brightness now on peak, which is the brightest that it's ever been, and it also makes a big difference when you're outside. So, what kind of battery life am I getting on this phone? I'm getting about 5 to 6 hours, just over 6 hours of screen on time, and that depends on how you use the phone too, because I've tested it with the 120 hertz refresh rate on and with it off. So some people might want to use that, some people might not, some people might want the battery savings. For instance, I tested it out and I got the other day 13% battery left, use it all day, just over 5 hours screen on time, 120 hertz refresh rate. Then today, right now I'm sitting at 21% battery, and then with this one, right at about 6 hours screen on time with 20% battery left. So the 120 hertz definitely does eat up more battery than when you're not using it, and that's something that's going to have to be taken into consideration. And I can't give you a hard and fast number, say, okay, exactly, you're going to get this much battery life every time. You could get 4 hours of battery life if you sit there and you record a bunch of 4K video, you shoot a bunch of camera shots all day long. That sucks up the battery a lot. For instance, I went to Disneyland last year. I did a camera review of the iPhone 13 Pro and totally loved it. Great time. It was dead in 4 hours, and normally that phone will last me about 10. So whenever you start really using a lot of horsepower with smartphones, it really impacts the battery life. So shooting video, taking a lot of camera samples, yeah, if you go out and shoot 100, 200 photos, you go to the zoo, you go outside, it's hot, you're going to be using it all day, screen brightness turned up, that's really going to drain the battery. Especially if you got a 5G connection, if you actually get it. I don't. I've got the first model. It's not the one that's the US model. It's not even the UK model. It's the one that came out in India and Asia. I'm using it on AT&T with 4G LTE, working fine with me. It also works with T-Mobile, but I don't have 5G, even though the phone is capable of it, which is kind of frustrating. I'll have to get the 5G US model once it gets here in a couple of months. It's not coming out till the 1st of September. I couldn't wait that long. But back to the battery life. I do think it's a big improvement over the Xperia 1 Mark III, definitely because they added more features. So we've got the Snapdragon 8 Generation 1, more powerful processor. But the thing is when you get these more powerful processors, they're thinner. And when you have a thinner processor, it uses less electricity to get the same job done. So just by nature of that alone, it's going to be more battery efficient. In addition to that, you've got the 1,000 nit brightness screen now. It's much brighter. It's better when you're outdoors. And that's a big feature this phone needed, because the screen wasn't the most bright in the world. It was a welcome change. And if you're going to use this to take photos outside, you really need the brightness so you can see on the screen for camera samples and also for the video. So adding all that stuff in there, 120 hertz refresh rate. And of course, this is a 4K screen. It uses more power to display all those different pixels on the screen, more so than a Quad HD Plus that you're going to find with almost every other flagship, and especially more so than a 1080p. So when you combine all that stuff together, yes, I think it gets good battery life. Again, you can do stuff to lower it. You can do stuff to maximize it. Turn off 120 hertz, turn the brightness down, use adaptive brightness, use dark mode. I don't do any of that stuff. I've got it basically almost at 100% brightness all the time. I've got it way turned up. I don't have adaptive brightness on, and I use it. That's how I use all my phones. And if I can do that and I can get 5, almost 6 hours screen on time, depending on what I'm doing, then I think that's pretty fair. And that's pretty much in line with everything else. Get about 6 hours with the Pixel 6 Pro, get about 5-6 hours S21 Ultra, get about 4.5, maybe 5 hours on the top end with the Fold 3. So when we look around at all the other different flagship models, about 5 to 6 hours seems to be mostly the upper limit when you have these things completely maxed out. Now, yes, some people are like, whoa, I don't know what you're talking about, bro. I get 12 hours of screen on time. Okay, yes, some people get more. It can even come down to just consistencies or inconsistencies in the hardware, whereas you get some chips that are produced in one plant and some that are produced at another plant that have a that are basically just made better. If you get one that's made from TMSC, it typically is a better made chip. So that right there can account for different things. Or some people are like, well, I've got the Exynos processor in my S22 Ultra versus the Qualcomm Snapdragon in mine. There can be differences, but this one, it only has the Snapdragon 8 Generation 1. You're probably going to get pretty consistent performance, and I think that it's fitting for what you get with the phone. Now, of course, yes, if you want to put battery saving mode, if you want to put adaptive brightness, if you want to turn the brightness down, if you want to turn off 120 hertz refresh rate, there's all sorts of stuff. If you want to go in detailed, have different apps that are killed, not running in the background, you can maximize the battery life even better. I've made videos about this before for other phones. But this one, I tested it full throttle. And the only thing I tested differently really was turning off that 120 hertz, rocking it, using it the last day or two, and you can get over 6 hours of screen on time. My really only big hang up with this phone, I wish it had better, faster charging. So it is capable of 30-watt charging. If you have a 30-watt charger, it will recharge faster. It's definitely not as fast as a lot of the other ones that are out there now. You're talking 45 watts, 50, 60, 70 watts. It's one of those things now where you get a lot of other phones that come from different areas that have massively faster charging. They've still got the same big battery. It's really nice to have a phone that you can recharge in 30 minutes to an hour instead of an hour to 2 hours. But if you actually have a 30-watt charger, this one is supposed to get 0 to 50% in half an hour. So I think that that's fair. It should get you through the day. This phone, definitely if you use it normally, and you casually shoot some photos, maybe shoot some video clips, do a TikTok video, do an Instagram reel here and there, you should get at least 5 hours screen on time. And when we talk about screen on time, that's when the screen is physically on. So that doesn't mean it's in your pocket, it's in standby mode, you're listening using Bluetooth earbuds and the screen's not on. There's a lot of stuff you can do with the phone and the screen may not necessarily be on, or if you've got a watch even connected to it. So anything that you do extra, and of course having the screen off. The screen is the biggest thing that drains battery when it comes to any phone, and this phone right here is no different. So anytime you're actively engaged with the phone, the screen is on, you're watching videos, you're doing stuff, especially playing games, it definitely does drain the battery faster. It can get hot. If you shoot 4K video and you've got the camera on for a while, it can get warm. I haven't had it where it's overheated. I've had some people that are like, oh, this phone overheats. The last Sony overheated. Maybe yours did. Maybe it was a bad unit. I don't know what the issue is there. I use the Xperia 1 Mark III extensively, never overheated, and I've been using this one for over a week now. I've been testing it out, using it as my daily driver, and one time it randomly did get hot. I don't even know why. I was sitting there for a prolonged amount of time just with the screen on, which I do quite often, and it started getting warm. I powered it off, turn it back on, and it seemed to fix the problem. So every phone, I think, may be capable of doing that. The Pixel 6 was the worst about it. You'd be sitting there watching YouTube, and then it's 140 degrees, and then it goes away. So anyway, that was a one-time anomaly with this one, but also during the first week that you have the phone, don't expect to get the best battery, because with all phones that are Android phones now, especially with the latest version of Android 12, there's a lot of adaptive stuff that goes on behind the scenes. It learns what you do. It learns what it can turn on, turn off, shut on, shut off, and how to manage the stuff that's in the background. So the phone you get, the day one you take it out of the box, please don't leave a comment saying, oh, I got 3 hours of battery life on the first day. Of course you did. It's the very first day. It's downloading stuff. It's setting stuff up. You've got the screen on the whole time. You're running all these apps. You're recovering from a backup on another phone. There's a lot of stuff that goes on in the first 24 to 48 hours. And yes, it will get warm usually in that time period. That's with any phone, because you're sitting there doing a lot of stuff all at once. So normal day to day, after that, that doesn't really happen. So I don't really pay attention to that first day or two. If after a week your phone is sitting there and it's getting hot, that's kind of problematic. The first day or two, don't even sweat it. And I didn't really have that problem with this one anyway. Yeah, maybe it got a little bit warm while I was setting stuff up. But overall, I've been pretty happy with the process, pretty happy with the phone. I like the phone a lot. I haven't even been thinking about my iPhone since I started using this one. But I got to tell you, about 6 hours on the upper end screen on time if you don't have 120 hertz on. If you do, hey, if you've got the brightness turned down, other battery saving features, you might get that anyway. But I think you can expect probably about the 5 hour mark with the 120 hertz and about 6 hours without it. And I think that's pretty fair, because 120 hertz does take up a decent amount of battery, and that's kind of what I see with a lot of other flagship phones. So that's all I got on my report on the battery life for the Sony Xperia 1 Mark IV. Hopefully this has been helpful. Hopefully this has brought you some comfort if this is what you were looking for, because I've had a lot of people asking about the battery, a lot of people asking about the heat, and I'm just not having any heat problems. So I don't know if maybe other people were I don't know what their deal was. I don't know why people are saying that. If I do run into that problem in the future, I will certainly update and address this for people, but I haven't been having that problem. Safe to say that I think that it's a pretty good phone. So yeah, that's all I got. So if you have any questions or comments, please go into the comment section. I will get back with you. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like and the subscribe button and the little notification bell if you want updates when new videos come out. And as always, thanks for being here. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you guys next time.